I'm talking about the higher ups in the government. No, I'm not anti-government. It's just the people who have fulfilled the elite shoes in the government has gotten so comfortable that these stopgaps and safeguards are now trickling down into the lower levels. Let me explain. The lower levels in Chicago when it comes to justice systems is getting someone straight out of a crappy law school. My sister, for example, she has a job in Illinois, and she was like part of a law firm, and she handles these, I don't want to say they're bills, but they're like equal to what makes a bill stand upright. And they tell her that she cannot take out like these two things and just oversight it. And so those two things would equal what a safe gap is. So when they say like the color of law, that's an interesting word. To brush over gray area, they call the law a living body because it is propped up as one. It can take lives. And the fact in hand, when there's no oversight for people who are in DC and making a whole bunch of money, the dark money, just from these safe gaps and stock safeguards, highly frowned upon what I'm saying, but I'm outside in public, so it's a little less risque because you're allowed to be free in the United States. So if that's tarnished by this color of law putting gray area over down more and more niche jobs, then the more and more niche jobs would make a U-turn at some point. And everything you're doing, if it's to someone who has more power than you, will be looked at as confrontational as opposed to association, which is a worker's right, freedom of association. And then anything that you're not doing confrontational, which means talking, not just talking, but doing work, would seem as insubordinate. So those two words can get flip-flopped to just what I think is called the difference of policy and the difference of law. All this double speak in DC allows for this giant interplay where it's just a swap between mechanical and binary. One thing when it's protocol with court systems is the judge comes in and swear you, and you get all gussied up and dressed nice if you're trying to make a good impression, but the impression of the public stuff that's open to the public, and if someone's bringing documents and you're going into a courthouse to be courteous, wouldn't it be nice if someone came up to you before a court hearing and gave you a whole bunch of documents that could help you? You can keep them or you cannot, it's up to you, but if you're turning your head really quickly after an icebreaker and just focusing on a case, it's more than likely that you're there just for show. And the more and more elites in the higher and higher courts who portray this image is literally very easy to see, because they couldn't care less about a person in that situation opposed to just getting ready for the judge to walk in to make themselves look good. It's for certain is microbiologists can make anything. But how easy is it to make anything? Well, it depends. There's a handful of stuff that people have short-sighted in. And when you're doing a shorthand for things that you're short-sighted with, you'd expect the fall off to be great. Now, if I was giving a lecture to a kid, that's exactly what I would have told them the first 10 seconds. But the majority of stuff, besides these loud cars that were rushing by, now I have a break period, is that they would have only heard that I like money for microbiologists because they make a lot of it, because the amount of stuff they can make is limitless. Whether it be medicine or something that is the opposite of a medicine, a poison. One thing that I'm impressed with nowadays is the amount of money, of currency that is generated through jobs of microbiology. One thing that is for certain is microbiologists can make anything. Or someone wanting to take a medicine and the poison between the two to escape reality. No one's escaping reality on circumstances of what must go up, must come down. A handful of things are a great drop-off of a lot of people when it comes to particles that make up atoms that have a handful of motions that they do, kinematic, when it isn't induced by systemry of electromagnetism. Now, there's a whole bunch of cabinets, boards, things of people holding office who are elected, who have these systems. The ACLU, I was just told, is a good system. Other systems with acronyms act as though they're a permanent force other than kinematic and can hold as much resignation as electromagnetism. When in radiation, it's kinematic or electromagnetism. In kinematic radiation, you believe, has much to do with blowing off steam because there's more momentum-based objects, and that's what its premises is. The preface of electromagnetivity radiation is thoroughly thought out through computers. Now, when you're saying that a cabinet is a computer, that's also a distortion of reality. So people looking to escape reality from finding the difference of a medicine and poison is in parallel, within unison, to cabinets thinking that they're more than kinematic energy. They've got their own force to be reckoned with other than electromagnetivity. There's only two, kinematics and electromagnetivity radiation. Cabinets and boards thinking that they have their own force other than those two, just because they're saying a computer is a cabinet, are equal on the parallel of people thinking that a medicine and poison has a median where you can fit in between the two to escape reality, getting the better of the bunch of what goes up must come down. That's my hypothesis. Oh, and money can be made just as better with the product better than microbiologists if it's done with the Smiths. And there's a few different, there's goldsmiths, but then more recently there was these people on TV, they said that they were the sugar smiths. Sugar smiths have to do with making candy, and this isn't anything that's shorthanded. There's a lot of different types of it, and it's just as prolific as documents of an intelligence agency. One of the strongest cabinets would be claiming that their cabinet is quite literally the Pentagon having an Amazon having an Amazon broadband for their network, which is an embarrassment because the Pentagon subsiding to an Amazon network. Some cheesy delivery online company running the intelligence agency's Pentagon network connection stability, the dial-up, you know. A system's protection when there's a stopgap and safeguard, and in knowing those safeguard and stopguard, how to not get in trouble. And so that's spot on when it comes to Lagrange and Hamiltonian, and this is where I'm going to hit the brakes. All the graduate work in math, what science is just math, so I'll just use that as a stable ground. In graduate school is what needs to be put in front of the grade school when you're learning how to read. And then taking science more seriously, like life or death. I've seen so many signs all around, and then there's garbage and dead animals. If you just go like 10 miles in your town, you should know that. So the characteristics of a town, and especially with colleges, is it a town with the college that's going to have houses around, or is the campus set up without houses around? And so then there will be less of a party environment. But then there's all these rules that get handed up into schools where they're party environments. And so that can be looked at as a literal representation of how to do what the color of law is doing with gray area, make this corruption seem as though it has eyes, legs, and feet, and is more than what you are. And that's a pinnacle of making all this graduate work really simplistic with just those really childish ways of understanding reality. And I know how to do it, but I'm gonna need to invent an entire entertainment system to make it halfway decent in just watching.